I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All six of them.
Who are you?
There's a serial killer out there who strangled 3 women.
His motive is terror.
I'm death and life to you, Doc.
His purpose is murder, and his inspiration is all the famous killers who have come before.
It's the Boston Strangler.
Telling me this guy's copycatting a serial killer who's been dead for
20 years.
Sigourney Weaver, Holly Hunter, Dermot Mulroney, and Harry Connick Jr. Copycat.
This is Matt once again. Welcome back to another review. This is another request for Albin. One of my thoughts on Copycat from 1995. Now, for those interested in requesting pretty much any type of video, it could be a review, movie topic, whatever you want. You can either request it directly to my PayPal or join me on my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. If not, no worries, but if so, thank you so much. Now, Copycat is one of those films that was done in the era where you were getting quite a few of these serial killer type of movies, like Seven. Years after, you had a film called Resurrection, among other films. And Copycat, I've never loved, but I always thought it was alright. The positives is the cast and the score. Like Sigourney Weaver, interesting role she plays where she's a criminal psychologist. She's doing this lecture at this local university, and then she is attacked and almost hanged by this killer played by Harry Connick Jr. And that's the way the movie opens. It's sometime later after that ordeal, and she's an agoraphobic, meaning she will only want to stay inside. If she tries to go outside, she has panic attacks. Even inside, she'll get panic attacks. She's sealed herself off in her room, in her apartment. And meanwhile, there's a series of deaths happening. And one thing leads to another. And our detectives, Holly Hunter and Dermot Mulroney, go to Sigourney Weaver for help. And they start realizing that this guy is a copycat. He copycats other serial killers. Which is an interesting idea, to be fair. A very interesting idea. So, one death, the guy will copycat something of Berkowitz, Son of Sam. And then another, he'll replicate something of Jeffrey Dahmer. And I thought Sigourney Weaver and Holly Hunter did a good job. Where Sigourney Weaver, she's much more of a vulnerable character. But then Holly Hunter, she a bit more intense. And granted, she might seem mild in her demeanor and her stature, but she stands up for herself and got a pair of brass balls, so to speak. And it was also cool to see people like Dermot Mulroney and others in there. So I thought the cast did their jobs well. Also the score by Christopher Young, very good score. I mean, there's pieces of music in here that would be utilized in a shitload of movie trailers, including Scream. Like, if you watch the trailer to Scream, and pretty much the second half of that trailer is music from this movie, Copycat. When you watch the film, in particular, when Harry Connick Jr. is trying to hang Sigourney Weaver's character, and then that music comes back at the end of the film when she is dealing with this new killer, and shut up, computer. Deal with this new killer and fighting him off and things of that nature. So it's a really good musical score. As to why I never loved it, I could never put my finger on it. Maybe because I don't know. I really don't know. One thing, you find out who the killer is, seems like fairly early on. I thought maybe that would have been more interesting if... I think it would have been interesting if it was the gay friend roommate of Sigourney Weaver's character. And that this is a guy that was so witty and smart, he worked into this woman's life and livelihood. Or something else to that effect. But just the fact you find out who the killer is fairly early on took a little bit of the mystery away. It was also... I guess it is kind of interesting the way this happened. Spoiler alert, Dermot Mulroney's character. Dermot Mulroney's character is an important character in this movie, and he gets killed in a way that has nothing to do with the case. A random moment at a police station where someone was not paying attention. Actually, Will Patton's character, who I like him as an actor. He's been in a bunch of stuff. And this guy gets a gun, gets Dermot Mulroney hostage. Holly Hunter takes the shot. Things seem to go right. But then things go wrong. Dermot Mulroney gets killed. So on one hand, I'm like, okay, that is something that would happen in real life. That random shit like this would happen. But I know it sounds stupid. I don't know how I feel about it. Because I guess usually if an important character like that would die, it's because of the case or the killer or something. So again, the fact that it happened so randomly, I'm kind of mixed on. Because again, there's that part of me that's like, this is kind of interesting. A little bit different of the norm. Maybe because it was in that era when you've seen something grittier like Seven, that in a weird way this felt a little bit tame compared to some of the serial killer movies of that era, like Resurrection came out a few years after. And as a serial killer movie, this seemed like a little bit more tame. I know that sounds stupid. Maybe because I was more into the characters, but there wasn't really a big sense of mystery, A, of the killer, because they give him away fairly early on, and B, of how they solve who this person is, and how they solve and find who this killer is, what pieces, what clues put together. That kind of falls flat, and oh yeah, it's this, and oh, we put some people out, and oh, maybe it's this guy, and then there you go. It's like, it wasn't really as engaging as I thought it would be. But what kept my interest was the two lead characters, Sigourney Weaver, by the end of the third act, when she's pissing off the killer. Fuck you, you hear me, you little twerp? You're just an impotent little copycat. To fuck with him. That was fun. The fact that the character, with all this fear of the outside, by the end she's able to stand up for herself and find strength. That was nice. Holly Hunter That useless character, she gets to do something. That was nice too. Like those two and the score, and I did the idea of a copycat killer. Those three help make the film a decent watch. It's just, again, it's not really a film that I ever loved or anything. And I wasn't really a fan of the very, very end, again, spoiler alert, where everything's fine, and then Harry Connick Jr. is writing it again to another copycat. So that means there's going to be another killer that's going to go after Sigourney Weaver. So is this going to be an ever-ending cycle, a never-ending cycle, where he's going to write another letter, another letter, another letter to another killer, and Sigourney Weaver's never going to be safe? So I kind of put a bit of a party pooper, part of a null and void, part of a meh to the very finale. It's like, yes, these two work together and they stop this killer. Nope, doesn't matter, because Harry Connick Jr. just going to keep writing fucking letters. Honestly, at this point, if you're a fucking killer like that, you should not have the right to write letters. I think that's a right that should be taken away. No phone calls, no letters, tough shit. You're this murderer, fuck your rights. That's just my opinion. That's not the movie's fault, because that happens in real life. But again, just my opinion. If you're a murderer, you do this crazy shit, fuck your rights. Fuck your rights, fuck your bullshit. You don't get to write, you don't get to call, you don't get to email, you don't get to do shit. You don't get to take the shit unless I fucking tell you so. So, that put a little bit of damper on things. So, it's not a film I rewatch a lot. Probably the last time I saw this was... You know what? It might have been 20 years ago. Like, it's been a long time since I've seen this. It just never was one of my favorites, because I thought, again, like the whole mystery, looking for clues, I didn't feel a whole lot of that part. And then, other than the interesting tapes she'd be sent, there'd be a victim, and then graphics turn into a skull, like those weird trinkets of video footage. That was interesting, but other than that, did you need the whole Will Patton used to love Holly Hunter, but then Holly Hunter may like Dermot Mulroney? You didn't need it, but it didn't bother me either, because I thought the actors did their jobs well. Overall, I don't mind the film. I thought it was a decent film. I don't love it, but I thought it was a decent flick. So, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.